CPM Rex 121, the longest lasting edge that I've so far come across on a knife. 69 Rockwell is the one here. The knife is generally sold at 67, I believe. This was a bit of a special one. This cut 1300 times through rope with its optimal edge that I found so far, and that was a 13 degree, somewhat polished edge, I think about 3000 grit edge. 1300 times through ropes comparable, well, for some reference, Maximet, another really high-end steel, at about 17 degrees, I believe, cut 810 times. And then you got S110V at 15 degrees, cuts about 650 times. Again, much higher than your standard, and that's because it's got some exotic elements in it. Well, more exotic than normal. Tungsten carbide, vanadium carbide, cobalt, forming different types of, crystalline structures along the edge that make it, I guess, cut for a whole lot longer than average. So what happens when you get a knife and you make it just out of tungsten carbide and you make that hardness 71 on the Rockwell scale? This is a Sandrin TCK tungsten carbide knife. This was sent to me by Brandon, one of my Patreons, who won this in a raffle. This knife is different, vastly different to any other knife I've tested. One, that it's not actually made of steel, it's made of tungsten. Two is that it is particularly thin. For reference, it is about 1 millimeter thin. It is a scalpel. The blade has apparently got either it's a hollow, or it's a primary flat, and then a hollow, and then a micro bevel. I don't know what the degrees are. I think on the side it does make mention of 42 degrees, so that's probably inclusive. I would guess 21 per side on that micro, maybe. My Tormek guide doesn't answer too many questions. It does seem to be a little bit too thin to be measured in that angle finder here, which I do often use. There, so even in the 15, the slimmest one, it's just not quite thick enough to, just so damn thin it doesn't sit in there. So yeah, I am very curious as to what this is going to do. I'm going to do the same test I always do with it. This wood may just ruin the edge, I have no idea. But we're going to see what kind of edge tungsten carbide does and how it copes with my standard edge retention test. The only difference being I will be cutting on the edge of the board, because otherwise I would just be using the tip. So I want to use a surface, an area of the blade about from here towards the tip, just to keep it roughly in line with what I usually do. The knife does currently cut paper very easily with its factory edge. I have no idea how to sharpen tungsten carbide, and there's not even that much advice out there, so whether the KME diamonds would do it, I'm not sure. I'm going to do it with this factory edge first. This will probably be the first of a few videos, depending on how this goes. Stay tuned, this may not go the way you think it's going to go. Let's get cutting. My test, obviously, cuts this twisted sisal rope until it no longer bites into a held sheet of paper like it just did. And commence. desktop for some reason. We're at 1070. We're at 1500, my camera keeps overheating. Start again, put it there. Starting to feel like it's gonna catch and drag. Yes, there is a dead spot, and I can see it. Yes, there is a dead spot on the blade. Actually, a couple of little ones. No, I was wrong. But it's not slicing reliably. Catching up in there. Yes. 1540. 1,540 cuts makes this the longest lasting edge easily on this show so far. Tungsten carbide at 71 Rockwell. Big ass fucking blister on my finger. Yes, I know I should wear gloves, but to be honest, you know what I kind of thought? I thought it was going to be a bit of a gimmick. I was like, why wouldn't they have all of their own videos doing this if this does supposedly last so long? I was kind of thinking it was going to go to maybe like 300 and then stop, but that was just, this is the punishment you get for prejudice. This is insane. Like, I mean, it's so thin, so it's getting advantages from being so thin as well, obviously, but that absolute cutting edge just kept on going, and it was just, you know, and it's not this thinness, it is just that absolute cutting edge that needs to bite into the paper, and it was doing that, and it still kind of is, but it has a hiccup partway through, which is could be just some, you just never know. If this is toothy finish, it might just be bound up a bit, but 1540 cuts this did until it had any form of hiccup at all. It's the winner. Sorry Rex 121, but you gotta drop all those, you gotta drop all that iron and vanadium and everything else and just go total tungsten, man. Shit. What a stuff. What a thing. If you had this knife as your EDC knife, you would basically never need to sharpen it. It would almost be single use. Whether you can sharpen it or not, I'll probably have a look at that in another video later on. But yeah, 1540. The camera overheated a couple of times. It's not even that warm. The camera just couldn't believe what it was seeing, and it just blew its fucking mind, man. So yeah. Well, thank you, Brandon, for sending me this knife. My finger doesn't thank you though. My finger's all like, no, it's not. It's fine. I do this. That was my dumb decision not to wear a glove. But once I get rolling, I don't want to go and stop and put the camera down. I'd like to just kind of do it in as much of one take as I can. And to be honest, I don't think I actually have a glove here right now. Like a glove that would be any good for this. This is a really thin knife. This was not a comfortable test to do. But someone's got to do it so you don't have to. Overall, tungsten carbide on these Sandrin knives. Using just half the blade. Phenomenal edge retention. You know, something that I doubt you would be able to best with any sort of steel. But who knows? Lay open the gauntlet, I suppose. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.